Good evening, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue of Southeast Asia TV. Tonight we will be discussing on Special Economic Zone, and I have a good friend, somebody who's been here for quite a while, working in the industry, Sam. Sam, why don't I give you a floor and you introduce yourself a bit to the audience before
Sure.
we jump into the subject? Yeah.
Okay. So my name's Sam Peou. I'm the senior partner for Radius Management Consulting Firms. I've been working in different industry in Cambodia. So today, I'm very delighted and honored to share my experience, specifically for Special Economic Zone.
Well, how long have you been in Cambodia, Sam?
I've been here for 8 years now. So
8 years straight,
eight
right?
years straight. Yeah. So still, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it.
Cambodian born?
Yes, was born in Battambang, grew up in Canada, so I'm glad to be back here.
Okay.
You know, to share my experiences.
Yeah. So, but basically, we're going to talk to a subject that is very dear to me, particularly when it comes to investment, because we go way back in 1994 when we have the first investment law. I was part of the process at that time. 94, that's a long time.
That's
that
a
was
long time,
like
yeah.
25 years ago.
Yeah.
So many things have changed, and a lot of people talk about special economic zone. A lot of Cambodians talk a lot about that. A lot of them jump into the investment, but not many people understand what does it take to have a successful special economic zone.
Okay.
What's your view on that?
Well, my personal view on the special economic zone, it's first, it's not a real estate business that, special economic zone is special economic zone. Other countries call it free trade zone, industrial zone, industrial park. So they're all the same thing, have the same functionality. But to be successful in a special economic zone, you have to have value-added services built into your business model, right? Infrastructure cost is one of the major costs, right? For any 50 hectares, as is that.
That's a minimum.
Minimum.
Legal requirement, right?
With 50 hectares. So 50 hectares special economic zone can cost, the infrastructure can cost you between 10 to 15 million dollars just to build a good infrastructure, right? And the only disadvantage is that special economic zone, the revenue is very lumpy, very lumpy. Once you lease the lot for 50 years, your revenue dry up, right?
But Sam, before we delve to that, right? How many economic zone we have in Cambodia now?
I think based on our research for the past 6 months, we believe it's around 40 special economic zones spread across Cambodia.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
Phnom Penh, for
Phnom Penh,
sure.
we have around 2.
Okay.
Around 2. And then Sihanouk is one of the. Sihanouk and Soi Rieng account for 50%.
Oh yeah, 50%.
Yeah, 50% of
Not
the.
not in the Thai border.
No, Thai border is only Banti Minch is around 2 or 3.
Is that right?
So, but Soi Rieng is around 12 special economic zone in Soi Rieng and 11 or 12 in Sihanouk.
What drive the two locations? Of course, the port is a main factor.
It's a seaports and close to the borders. It's a lot of shipment in and out border. I mean, it's like.
You mean you on the Bavat, right?
And the Bavets, because a lot of company can ship the products through Vietnam, because they have a big international seaport there.
Okay.
Sihanouk Wills also have international seaports, and that's why drive a lot in the border.
So logistic matter big time for
Big time.
For the zone. In Bavat, it's more driven by the port. Is that Kai Map?
Kai Map port,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Logistics is one of the major contributing costs for manufacturing. I mean, overall, Cambodia spent like around $2 billion for product shipping out in the country, right?
From the zone?
Yeah, within the zone and outside the zone, but the logistics costs around $2 billion a year.
I'm surprised why not so much on the Poi Pat, Petit Minche side, Thai border.
Yeah.
Why some reluctance?
There's a lot of I think there's a lot of special economic zone in Thailand as well.
Ah,
So
okay.
it's a lot of them. So a lot.
So they're already on the other
The other
side of the
side
border.
the
okay.
other side, you see Bangkok and outside
okay.
Bangkok, a lot of special economic zone. But in the past 7 years, I seen some special economic zones still to develop in Phoi Phet,
Okay,
along the Thai
okay.
border. So which is a good sign. I think we need zones, right,
Yes.
for closer to the border.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we need more special economic zone.
Yeah, because the way I see now, Cambodia is part of the Mekong sub-region. I think a decade earlier, ADB was mentioning the Greater Mekong sub-region, right? The Greater GMS. In the recent last 10 years or so, there's a strong, I would say, recognition of, because the Greater Mekong sub-region includes southern China. But then you have the Mekong region itself, which is the 5 countries.
Yeah.
Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Vietnam, and Myanmar, right? So they see, at least from the developed country perspective when it comes to invest, they see Cambodia not as Cambodia, but linked to Thailand,
Yes.
so part of that supply chain.
Supply chain.
You're talking about supply chain. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Integrated supply chains within the sub-Mekong region. Yeah.
So on that, so we have big concentration in Sihanoukville and
Svay Rieng.
Svay Rieng, some in Phnom Penh, but there's a lot of industry in Phnom Penh. I'm surprised only 2.
Yeah, it's close to 60% of manufacturing concentrate within 60-kilometer radius of Phnom Penh, right?
Okay, but not in the zone.
Not in the zone, because a lot of garment factory, which
Yes.
is they located outside the zones,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Like Phnom Penh is one of them, is one of the biggest. Probably the biggest one in Cambodia, right? There's a lot of manufacturing inside of a special economic zone too. But Phnom Penh is there's only 2 special economic zone, right? And but we have a lot of manufacturing.
Yes, but why some industry move in to the zone and why other are not moving in? What's a differentiating factor?
Well, I mean the incentive, the benefit is the incentive of tax incentive, but the garment industry is a special case, right? It doesn't matter if you operate inside or outside special economic zone, you still benefit the same incentive, right?
Incentive, okay.
So there's a lot of garment factory it's operating outside the zone.
Yes.
So but they still have the same tax benefits.
Yes. Okay.
As
see.
those who operate inside the zone.
Yeah, and I would say maybe for the garment industry, access to labor matter. So they cannot be all concentrated in one place because harder to ship, to transport the worker every day. So they're more driven to where there are more population labor force, right? So that could be one of the reasons.
Yeah, it's a investor criteria. One of the investor criteria is labor force concentration. So how many worker potentially living around the manufacturing.
Yes.
I think one of the investor always look at the labors and infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right. So I think around Phnom Penh, the infrastructure is a lot better. Right.
Yes.
There's labors, trained labors. So the funny part that manufacturing wants to operate close to another manufacturing, so because a lot easier to get trained labor.
Yes.
So share train labor, transportation.
Share or you snatch?
You can snap. Yeah, I mean that's one. I mean anywhere you want to operate close to auto manufacturing, so you can snap some of the workers from other industry. Right?
But I think it's understandable for the garment industry because they don't require much in terms of infrastructure. Because it's warehouse, access to electricity. And then labor because they are just sewing, right? So, well, of course, for like factory that produce jean, they need access to washing, so more complicated investment to protect the environment, right? But aside from that, I don't think they need much like a real manufacturing per
Yeah.
se, right?
Yeah, it's garments are very basic in terms of technology.
Yeah.
In terms of knowledge base, right? You don't need a lot of high skill labors to do it because a lot of repetitive,
Okay, okay.
tasks on
Yes,
a daily
yes.
basis, right?
Yeah, yeah. So now let's go back to the economic zone. If the garment industry are not incentivized to get there, who are the industry currently that populate, say for example, the Phnom Penh economic zone, for example? What type? Japanese company? What type of industry?
I think within the especially Phnom Penh is that there's a high level of Japanese concentrations manufacturing in there. Probably 50% of manufacturing operate inside there. Owned by Japanese, and it's ranging from electronics to plastic molding injection to packaging. It's not just a garment, right?
Sam, we took a short break just now, but let's go back to the zone. So the Japanese are into manufacturing, but light manufacturing, spare part, component, electronics, what are they?
I think mostly are light to medium manufacturing,
Okay.
right? Because they produce some like high-end electronic component as well, right?
I see.
So it's not just the basic manufacturing products.
Give me some example.
It's like hard drive,
Okay.
right? Hard drives and memory chips, right?
I see.
This is the stuff that very sensitive components that they produce. It's not
Ball bearing.
ball bearing,
Yeah.
yeah. And in Peou they do all the car seat joysticks and all that. So it's not just the it's just not the basic stuff.
I see. So I would say electronic car component as well.
Electronic car component I think is coming, right? And it's a lot of precision
Precision,
machinery need.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the higher electronic component you use more precision machine, right?
Well, do you see a differentiation between Japanese investment into high-end manufacturing versus Chinese manufacturing? Are the Chinese mostly into garment footwear, or also moving into some manufacturing per se?
Yeah, I think the Chinese more focus on the garments,
Labor intensive.
labor intensive. Whereas the Japanese, I think I can see them moving into more in the auto parts.
I see.
And electronics sectors.
Yeah.
So which is good that we want to have more of this manufacturing is available because the good thing about electronic manufacturing is that you require higher skilled labor, engineering, quality assurance, programmer, and all this stuff, right? So it's good to build your human capital when you have this electronics or auto parts because you need more technical people.
Yes.
Whereas the garment you don't need a lot of high skilled technical people.
So the Japanese sort of like have in-house capacity building, or they bring from outside?
They normally bring the technical from the outside, and they have their own in-house trainings, right?
Okay.
The Japanese they like everything controls in-house, right?
Yes, yes.
Starting with training, quality control, human resource capacity building. Normally they do a lot of stuff in-house, right?
Yes, yes.
So they have a system where where they train people, which is good.
So in a way, Cambodian people that work there will have a better chance to move up the value chain.
Yes, they are because they are trained. Well, they will, because I think the Japanese focus more on training. They spend monies on training.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And which is, I believe, it's very, very important for manufacturing because training should be a mandatory.
Yeah.
Because the technologies update constantly, right?
Okay.
So that's why it's good to have people train constantly doing even the new software releases, mechanical designs, modify to new designs. So in the electronics or auto parts, there are always new releases of software, so people have to keep update with that, right?
see.
Where clothing, it's not a lot of software
Yes,
releases
yes,
and all that stuff, right? So I think it's good for capacity building.
Yeah, because the way I see now in the automobile industry, Thailand is the hub there. I mean, let's be real. Let's not have an illusion that it will be moving to Cambodia, right? So I mean, Vietnam is start to move into car assembly now, or maybe more than assembly. In Cambodia, we have some assembly, right?
But I not that I'm aware of, right?
Yeah.
But we have basic car assemblies like
Yeah.
mostly on the like I mentioned earlier, like
Yeah.
the joysticks,
Yes, okay.
the seats,
Okay,
more like
okay.
semi-finished products.
Yeah, and then they
you
ship
to Thailand
into,
for full production.
for full
production.
assembly. I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the whole because car manufacturing is very complex.
Yes.
And it's a lot. It requires a lot of automation to do car manufacturing assembly line, and
Yes.
you need big space.
Big space. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, it's important that we start somewhere.
Exactly.
We're
Absolutely.
part of the
Exactly.
supply chain.
Absolutely.
Now we have 3 components, 4 components, eventually 10, eventually 20. So part of the supply chain is important. And the way I see is that again, I'm looking at the 2 major investors, which is Japan and China. Cambodia is part of this larger regional supply chain. You know that the Ministry of Public Work and Transport is now working on the national transport and logistic master plan. And in that strategy, which in that master plan, which I hope will be adopted very soon, clearly the issue of linking Cambodia to the sub-region, which is the supply chain per se, is very important. Southern Vietnam on the lower part, southern Thailand on the other side, and Cambodia is in the middle.
Yeah, it's the infrastructure. It's going to be good for industry development. Infrastructure, with the expressways coming along, this will help improve because manufacturing, you have to be very efficient, right? When you integrate it, to the regional supply chains, everything have to be very efficient. So with all the new infrastructures in place, that's going to help boost the industrial development process.
Okay.
So which is great news for Cambodia.
Well, so we spoke quite a bit about the larger macro regional driver. Let's come into inside the zone. So it's more micro driver. What are the lessons learned that Cambodia for the last 10 years or so of having a special economic zone, sub-decree, having some zones, some work, some didn't work? What are the lessons learned? And what does it take to have more successful special economic zone?
Yeah. Well, I think each zone has to be unique, right? Because you cannot be, you cannot have the same functionality or the same features as other zone. You have to be uniqueness, right? It has to be uniqueness. And in terms of features, right? There's features and benefits, right? The feature, you have to be uniqueness. And I have to say that the special economic zone is not a real estate. It's an investment. When you sell it to investor, you sell it your investment package, right? Which is include the feature and the benefit of your zones, right? And the benefits such as tax incentive. So why should they invest in Cambodia? And the second step would be why should they invest in your zones, right? So this is you sell an investment package to investor, right? So it's not a real estate property. It's an industrial complex. And revenue. It's when you have your revenues collected for 50 years, you finish, right?
Oh.
So you don't have any regular revenue stream to support your operation. Most of the
But how about the annual lease rental?
the maintenance fee that they collect from the manufacturing is very small amount, like 5 cents per square meter, right? So it's insufficient to support the operation, right? the most you have to create value-added services, right?
Like
Factory rentals.
Okay.
Factory rentals, different sizes, small, medium, and large sizes, and with short-term, long-term, or medium terms, right?
Okay.
Because factory rental will allow you to generate a constant
Cash
revenue,
flow.
cash flow, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Cash flow. But to build a factory, it's costs a lot of money too, right? But you can collect factory rental $3.50 to $5 per square meter inside the zone, right? So so very very good. And compared to outside, you only can do $2 per square meters, right? But a factory rental is keys, right? For revenues, to collect revenue on a monthly basis. Without that, you cannot rely on maintenance fee, right?
Okay. Okay. Well, but before you get to there, right? And that's why perhaps some of the local businessmen who jump into the SEZ investment did not realize is the upfront cost of putting the infrastructure,
Yeah.
the road, the sewage, the electricity. What else?
Yeah. The upfront cost has to be done first, right? The road, the sewage, the water treatment system, the hydro lines need to be.
That's 15 million upfront already, right?
That's a $15 million cost, and to have a good infrastructure inside. And but some zone they say, well, until someone invests first, they build the infrastructure.
Okay.
The investor perspective say, well, until I see infrastructure before I invest, right? So
Chicken and egg.
chicken and egg. So, but in reality, as the zone operator need to have a infrastructure in place first before they can attract investor, right?
So what you're saying is that if you have some land and some money is not adequate,
No.
you gotta have a deep pocket.
Yeah, because you have to think that this big investor, when they come into the zone, they're concerned about the environmental issue,
Okay.
right?
It's very important.
And then the employee well-being, right?
Yes.
Logistics, access, right? Infrastructure.
Yes.
So
So now with quality matter.
qualities matters.
It's not just like you say. It's not just chop the land, 50 hectare. Here's 1 hectare for you, 1 hectare for me. No, it's not.
No, it's not like that.
You have to have space for living space, quality living space.
Exactly.
If the worker there, you gotta have some pond, you gotta have some walking area. But foremost, I like the way that you stress on environment.
Environment.
We cannot just pollute.
No.
To discharge to the local river stream, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And this costs money.
Exactly. Because investors, when they set up manufacturing, they have to comply with their customer as well, right?
Yes.
Customer require them to build a factory before they purchase, make sure there's no environmental violation, right? So where they're going to ask where you release your water is dirty water, right? Contaminated water.
Yes.
So they also have to meet their customer requirement as well. Even that's why they have to have a good infrastructure in place.
You see, in I'm just talking about the garment industry and footwear, for example, which use quite a chemical, and the garment, all these jeans that you see, lightly, would say light color, wash out. These are all chemical.
It's all chemical,
right?
Yeah.
And I was talking to the big brand. They say they have to do very stringent due diligence on their contractor. Because they don't want one day to see on the news, some local villager complaining. It affect their share price, and it make them look bad.
Yeah, because our zone operator need to understand their immediate clients, and they need to understand their clients as well, right? And then the consumers, because when they develop a zone, it's not as simple as here 50 hectares, set up your manufacturing. You might attract some investor, right? But most big brand, like they want to have a special economic zone with well-established infrastructure, that meet environmental requirements. Because they have to answer to the customers too. So very, very, very important, which is a lot of, it's not as easy, right? It's not as easy because the real estate side, you're dealing with the average consumers.
Yes.
The special economic zone, you deal with a sophisticated investor, manufacturer, right? And you sell investment package. You don't sell one lot, a piece of land, right?
Yes.
So this is, and the decision-making process for investor to invest in special economic zone, it could take up to 1 year to 2 years before they make a decision to invest, right? Whereas the real estate piece, the family can make a decision. For those big company, they have to go through their feasibility study, and then have to go through the board of directors for approvals and all that. So the timelines could be up to, some I deal with one customer is take almost 2 years before they make a decision to invest, right?
So it's a long haul.
It's a long haul. It's
long
not
haul.
easy, if you think it's an easy, I mean, you have to think twice because you're dealing with a complex, sophisticated investor because they have to make a decision why they relocate some of their production into Cambodia, right? Is based on product life cycle management, right? What product is some product approaching certain life stage, so they have to move that. So behind the scene, there's a lot of work, because when you're moving your production to another country, it's not as simple. It has to be strategic. The process, the supply chain has to, to be a cost benefit for them, right? So that's why I'm saying it's not a real estate business.
So let me recap, right? Infrastructure matter. You better have a deep pocket to invest upfront, and now in the context of this UN global agenda for sustainable development, the focus of the country to meet the SDG is also very important. Not just growth.
No.
We want quality growth, and for the government, we don't want to have the side effect of having to deal, with pollution later on, which will defeat the whole purpose of investment. I mean, if you have high growth, but then the state have to end up paying for, treating health worker who are affected by the pollution.
Exactly.
It defeat the whole purpose, right? It wash out. So environment matter. Knowledge of the industry matter.
Very important knowledge of the industry.
And this is probably our weak link here, because Cambodia, they may have money, they may have ideas, but knowledge and expertise matter quite a bit here.
Yeah, sizes does not matter. Sizes, I mean, like to have a 500 hectare special economic zone, it's not, for me, it's a lesson learned that the size doesn't matter because if you build a 500 hectare special economic zone, you have all the best infrastructure, but you have to understand that outside the zone there's infrastructure to support your activity, right? So the best, I think, on the best side for special economic between 50 to 100 hectares, and you just have to spread across the region, right? Because otherwise you got congested.
So linkage with the local reality.
Yeah, exactly. Spread across, link it with the reality, with the communities and all that, right? So to avoid any congestions, right? If you build one big special economic zone, and then you will experience the congestion. With the outside, you can have the best infrastructures inside, but outside, how are you going to support that?
Okay. So again, back to the quality of life, because you mentioned about they have to think holistically, right? If I work for a Japanese company in Thailand or in Malaysia, to relocate, the company may relocate, but am I willing to relocate if the quality of life in that particular zone is not there?
Yeah,
I would be reluctant.
Exactly.
To move, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the major concerns for big investor, they worry about the quality of their executive. because if the quality of life is not there, right? That's one of they want to know, not just the
Yes,
infrastructure,
yes.
but the entertainment,
Yeah.
the lifestyles, and everything. Because
All right, that's a good place
Yeah.
to stop.
Yeah.
When we come back, we will look at the soft infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we spoke quite a bit about the hard
Yeah.
infrastructure and the policy in the first part. But let's move to the soft infrastructure later
Okay.
on. Okay?
Thanks.
Yeah, take a short break. Sam, let's focus on the soft infrastructure. Yes, the investor have to think about relocating to the country. They look at the investment incentive, the fiscal incentive, all sort of policy, macro policy. But ultimately, who run the factory? Is the executive.
Exactly.
Is the CFO,
Exactly.
the COO, is the general manager.
Exactly.
What is your lesson learned so far?
Yeah, it's that's why it's a lot of you see a lot of special economic zone. It's operate close to the border, right? So they can go to either Thailand, but some executive will probably in Phoi Phet, they they come to work in the morning and then go back to Thailand in the in the late afternoon.
Is that right?
So the soft infrastructure is very important because a lot of executive they need a place to stay, right? So they're looking at their accommodation, healthcare, right? Healthcare, and then the other thing is their family. If they move to work here, they need to have a good place for their family as well, right? So they not only just looking at the hard infrastructure, but the soft infrastructure for the executive as well, right? So that's why you say in Sihanouk well, because it's a bigger city in Phnom Penh, so that's a lot of people are concentrated in Phnom Penh because one of the thing is the executive.
Well, I can share you the perspective that I have learned from the Japanese investment. For nearly 2 decades, they've been investing in infrastructure before they were ready to send a signal to their private sector to come. Look, a few years ago, ANA flew direct, but it took several years before they decide to fly direct. Now, you see, with this daily direct flight, what happened in Phnom Penh? There's over 200 food, beverage, Japanese food and beverage establishment, right? Quality supply. Daily fresh sashimi flown from Tokyo every day, right? They have their own hospital, Sunrise Hospital.
Yes, very important.
Japanese doctor.
Yeah.
High-end quality, as good as any, I would say medical facility anywhere around the world, right? A bit small, but to meet the market demand, right? Why do you think Aeon Mall is thriving? They're building the third one. You see the first two is packed every day. What do you see? Quality
Products
from Japan.
Yeah.
And who do you see in daytime when the husband work in the economic zone? Their family, their wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Now the international school, Japanese international school for the kids.
Yeah. So it's very important that we have to have all the soft infrastructures in place to support the family and the key personnel, the executive who relocate to Cambodia to work. Like healthcare is one very, very important. Foods, entertainments, and all this. So this is one of the challenge because otherwise you cannot retain executive, right? Because it can be a turnover.
Sam, I forgot to add one thing. The direct flight to Japan is more the supply chain, everything, right? But you see, in the morning flight and the evening flight, Thai Airway, Asia Air, Bangkok Airway, Royal Government to Bangkok. A lot of Japanese.
Yes, a lot of Japanese.
Fridays packed.
Even the Japanese, they can fly from Bangkok to Siem Reap,
Yes.
and then they can drive back to Phoi Phet, right?
Yes.
Within 2 hours, they can hit the factory facility
Yes.
in Phoi Phet, which is good. Or they can fly to Phnom Penh directly, right?
And then go Phnom Penh
they
economic zone.
yeah. Or now they can fly to Siem Reap.
To Seatv
Well,
also.
so it's perfect.
So I think it boils down to
Yeah.
connectivity
Connectivity.
at its best.
It is. It's good for executive to travel, right?
Yeah.
Because last month I arranged the executive to look at the special economic zone, but he was in Ho Chi Minh City, right? And then he flew from Ho Chi Minh City to Siem Reap.
Yeah.
And then we drove from Siem Reap to the special economic zone in Phoi Phet, right? It's very, it saves so much time,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and that's why I would say not many Cambodians realize that we sort of take for granted. Cambodia is strategically located in a sub-region, dynamic sub-region, which according to many analysts, they say we are one of the growth center, right, in the world. ASEAN is one, but within ASEAN, we are the Mekong growth center. But number two, I mean, the connectivity between Cambodia and ASEAN country. Now we have direct flight to Jakarta now. You know, if you look at if you go to airport, you see the flight schedule, you know, it's packed. So you can go to anywhere in ASEAN country, no visa.
Yes. Yeah, and within short flying distances,
Yes.
right? Because, you know, you can fly basically to any Asia within half an hour
Yes.
to 4 hours.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I mean, you can fly.
4 hours are the longest.
Yeah,
right?
longest in the,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but within a couple of hours,
Yeah.
you can hit all the major
We
hubs.
could fly in the morning to a meeting in
Yeah.
Singapore and take the afternoon flight to have dinner at home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's logistically,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
So,
now,
so I can say that Cambodia is well connected.
well connected,
Yeah.
yeah. It's within the region,
Yeah.
and you know, so now I think executive have more flexibility. They can come for meetings in the morning and go back to
Yes,
their homes at the afternoon.
and the other thing that we forgot to mention is that air connectivity is one thing, road connectivity is one thing, but patient connectivity, we are rolling now, preparing to move to 5G. Yeah?
Okay.
So this is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, to have access to all the social media app, right? You know, Telegram, WhatsApp, Line. It doesn't matter, you know. I mean, when people fly to Bangkok or Singapore, their family and didn't know that the father is going to a meeting there.
Yeah. Exactly.
You see,
Yeah.
so this is great. I think Cambodia should tap on all this progress, on this technological progress, on this very assertive regional integration policy. You know, this is important to be part of. Because we're 16 million. Let's be real about it. We're too small market
Yeah.
to position on our own.
Yeah.
So we have to be linked to the sub-regional connectivity, the sub-regional supply chain, the production chain. You know.
Yeah. I mean, technology is amazing here. I mean, so the connectivity technology probably is better than some other places in the region, right? Cambodia have a good mobiles connectivities, right? It's very cheap. You know, it's very cost effective compared to other country. Easy access. You can get your SIM card, you know, just right in the corner.
That's
so
it.
you
That's
know, you walk in, you buy a SIM card, get the passport, and then you get your SIM card.
We have
Very-
fiber optic now.
Yeah, fiber optic, which is very
fiber optic.
quality.
The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank just approved a loan to the Cambodian government, $70 million
Okay.
for a fiber optic, and that will help roll out the 5G.
Yeah. The 5Gs will, because better, it's faster.
Yes,
The bandwidth is a lot bigger, right, than the 4G.
Well, I think this linked to the fourth industrial revolution. I mean, we have to catch up.
We have to catch up with the industrial revolution 4.0.
Yes, yes.
Which is it's coming, right? We have to be prepared for it.
And this is where the role of SEZ, Special Economic Zone, matter.
Yes. Yes.
because it can be quite concentrated in terms of infrastructure. Of course, the state have to be quite involved in that. If I sort of like summarize what you said in the last 40 some minute, a small investor would not make it
No.
in a special to
No.
move into a special economic zone.
No.
You got to have strong state backup. You got to have a strong list company who have experience. You know?
Experience in the special economic zone is almost a requirement because you have to understand the industry, manufacturing industry, because you developed a special economic zone to cater the industry, right? So a complex investor, not an average consumer, real estate buyer, right? So you have to understand that what you develop, you have to understand the industrial progress, right? What they need, what kind of infrastructure they need now, right? And where should your special economic zones be located? It's not that you have a piece of land, 50, and said, well, it have to be strategic location. You know, have to be benefit in terms of supply chain connectivity, logistics, and everything. So you have to look at strategic location, why it's good for special economic zone, not in other places that, well, because I do it because I have 100 hectares, right? They don't do it because
and you know, speaking of infrastructure, you know, you have to think of the cost of electricity. If you choose the wrong location, too far away from the substation, it costs more money.
Exactly.
But if you close your substation, you could have a better rate. To pass on to your ultimate factory owner, for example.
Exactly, because leasing fee is not a major factor for investor manufacturer. When the investors come in, they go, we don't want to talk about the leasing fee, right? I want to talk about whether it's suitable for my investment, the location in terms of strategic, in terms of labor, in terms of access, connectivity to international seaport, you know, airports, accommodation for my executive living. So all this is not about, okay, we sell cheap land or we lease cheap land. They don't really focus on that too much.
Yeah, unfortunately, in the past, most of the Cambodian SEZ developer are more focusing on the real estate side of it.
Yeah, it's not the best strategy.
Yeah, and then they wonder why ultimately there's nobody moving in there.
Yes.
You know? Because if I move to a zone and I have to take care of my own electrical connection, what the hell? You know, if I have to move to a zone and then I have to figure out, you know, where is my sewage gonna go, I might as well be on my own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Joe, so it's very important that it's not you have a piece of land and then you want to convert it into special economic zone. You have to look at the industry perspective that you have to understand. Yeah. So
lastly, we run out of time, but you know, like for example, the Cambodian Oknya who's now investing into the SME, you know, economic zone. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's very, very, because when it comes to special economic zone, people perceive it as the for major investor, major player, right? But it's better to have the special economic zone as like a cluster for SME, because it allows smaller company to operate within the special economic zone with all the supporting infrastructure and services inside. I think it's a good idea, but we have to do it right, you know, because there's SMA. Until this point, I don't understand what is SMA, right? Because there's so many. The definition, there's no universal definition.
Yes.
So in terms of SME, you know, I think we have to have a cluster, you know, because SME to stand alone is not very cost efficient, right? So if you stay with this support group within to provide them support with value added service, infrastructure support, service support on one spot.
So you see there are merit for the government to push for this sort of incentive.
I would encourage that.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, Sam, thanks so much for coming. We have a very engaging discussion, and there's a lot of good point that you raised. That particularly the investor, the local investor who are considering moving to that field have to think. Don't go on your own because you don't have experience. If you look for partner, better have somebody who have deep pocket and experience for that.
Exactly.
So that's what I will remember from this discussion. So once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I look forward next time to have you back, perhaps on maybe on airline industry, for example.
For sure.
Why not, right?
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Well, we're coming to the end of the show. I'm not going to summarize. I think we have a very good discussion. And I just hope that you enjoy the show. Thank you.